9D number 1. The table at the top of the next page is adapted from Dahl and shows per capita consumption of cigarettes in various countries in 1930 and the death rates from lung cancers for men in 1950. In 1930, hardly any women smoked, and a long period of time is needed for the effects of smoking to show up. Okay. So, plot a scatter diagram for this data. Was there one in the back? No? You had to do it yourself? Okay. True or false? The higher cigarette consumption was in 1930 in one of these countries. On the whole, the higher death rate from lung cancer in 1950. True. How do you see that in your graph? What is it about that graph that makes the answer true? Is it the shape of the football? No. What is it about the football that makes you answer yes? The slope, it's the slope being positive. So that scatter plot will have a positive slope, which means yes, smoking is associated with lung cancer. Does it mean smoking causes lung cancer? Not necessarily. It's not an experiment. It's just an observation. They just looked back through the books and said, oh, hey, in 1930, this is how many people smoked. And in 1950, this is how many men died. Do we think smoking causes lung cancer? Yes. But this data just shows an association, not causation. It's not an experiment. True or false? Death rates from lung cancer tend to be higher among those persons who smoke, or can this be determined from the data? It's false. We can't tell from the data. What might one of the problems be? Are they even the same people? We don't know, right? We looked back through history and counted, or looked at the data that's already available somewhere. How many people smoked in 1930? Men. In 1950, we looked at how many people died from lung cancer. Is this longitudinal? Did we follow people who smoked and see if they die? No. It's like saying the average ACT this year was 20 and last year was 19. Good job, you did better. Well, if you're only looking at juniors, it's two different groups of kids. It's not longitudinal, it's cross-sectional. We cut the pepperoni in 1930, we cut the pepperoni in 1950, and we're comparing the two. That doesn't make a lot of sense. You have to look at the people who are smoking or not smoking and follow them and see what happens. Now, doing an experiment on smoking is not ethical. So sometimes all we can do are observations, and if we do enough observations, we say, hey, yeah, smoking causes lung cancer. One thing we can do is make mice smoke. Right? How do you do that? You put them in a glass cage, and you light some tobacco on fire, and you let it get real smoky in there, and then see what happens to them. Is that ethical? Depends on who you talk to. Do we do stuff like that all the time? Yes. Where do you draw the line? That's personal preference. Okay, 2. A sociologist is studying the relationship between suicide and literacy in 19th century Italy. He has data for each province showing the percentage of literates and the suicide rate in that province. The correlation is 0.6. Does this give a fair estimate of the strength of the association between literacy and suicide? Yes. Okay, let me show you. What does 0.6 look like? It's a football, maybe a little bit of a fat football. So we have literacy and suicide rates. Now listen to this question carefully. Does this give a fair estimate of the strength of the association between literacy and suicide? Does 0.6 accurately explain the association between literacy and suicide? Yes. In fact, that's all R can do in this case. It tells us there is a, would you say this is a strong association? We would say there is a strong association. It's bordering on weak, right? Maybe a medium association. Does it say literacy causes suicide? No. All it says is they are associated. When one goes up, the other goes up. So let me read that question again, or the question. Does this give a fair estimate of the strength of the association? Yes, that is exactly what R does. It tells you how strong the association is. Does it mean literacy causes suicide? No. Do we think literacy causes suicide? No. All right. We're done.